everyone. Hi everyone. Hello dear Pentart creators. I would like to welcome you on this evening full of exciting news. Can you hear me? Can you see me well? I can see you. I am Alma Abonyi, and although you could see my hands in many interesting videos about using resin, but we have not met in person. So let me introduce myself a little bit. I'm working with different resins since 2005. I have graduated in 2011 at the Hungarian Fine Art University. And regarding my degree, I'm a sculptor, but I see myself more as a creative problem solver. I moved away from a literary meaning of contemporary art, and I try myself and use my creative energy on many fields, on many different fields, such as movie settings or dreaming and making different kind of trophies, like awards, you know. And I also try myself as a prosthetic artist in movies and TV shows, and I try some new designs, design solution in fashion industry. But what is common of all of these? I always experimenting with some kind of new material or technology, and that's why. So I'm here because of my love for resin, and I would like to introduce you to this super exciting world. Hello, Jan. Blanche. Hi. So, I think you know how much work there is in a product before it can be used by you. It is not different with this super glass 1-to-1 resin. I'm very honored that Pentart involved me in this process, and I would like to thank them for their trust. It's a super thing. Thank you. I don't want to take more time. I see many of you are in front of the screen, so let's start. In today's lecture, we will talk about the basic information for working resin, and tomorrow we will be coloring. Before everything, let's start with safety. Hello. Today's resins are really well composed, and a small quantity on a hobby level, they can be safely used at home without complicated chemical protection equipment. But still is very important that these are chemicals, such as a limescale remover or something like that. So you have to keep in mind the safety instructions. And as a first step, you should read the safety data sheet. I encourage you to always use nitrile gloves, and sometimes protective goggles can be good as well. We always talk about epoxy resin in singular, but in reality, epoxy resin is a two-component system where one component is the resin, usually that is the A, and the other is the hardener, which is the B component. The epoxy resin is very sensitive for measurement and mixing of the two components. Without precision, the material will not harden well, or will not harden anyway. So therefore, you need to put great focus on these two steps. Let's see how it works. I would like to change, maybe it could be better. Yeah, it's a little bit mess about after the earlier live. So the two components can be measured by volume or weight, so can measure, for example, milliliters or grams or whatever you need for your project. I need to emphasize that 1:1 ratio is for measuring in volumes. If you would like to measure in scale, then the ratio is 100 to 95 A to B. It is completely your decision which measurements is easier for you. There are people who like one and there are people who like the other. Do it as you wish. You can even switch between depending on the quantity. By all means, today I will talk about the pros and cons of each method and what you should take care of. By measuring with special cup by volume, in this case, you have to use authentically scaled cup because you can buy many cups with signs, but these are not precise. See, Aniki? So there are a lot of cups and with signs, but they are not precise. Pantart Measuring Cup is a very comfortable and easy to use tool. This is super easy to measure. You have to note this resin is a bit thicker than water, so when you pour the liquid into the cup, it won't spread perfectly immediately. You should give some time to resin to spread to avoid being imprecise. If you pour too dynamically to need measure when it spreads in the cup, it will be probably more than needed. So if you pour a little and wait and pour again, you can be much more precise, and after a couple of measurements like this, you will have the experiments to be able to measure fast and precise. But let's see how it's work so I will start with the protective gloves. I always forget it. Okay, so gloves, and no. So I will start with the component A, and I will use. So that is, I mentioned, pour a little and wait to spread perfectly. I would like to measure 20 milliliters. I think it needs a few drops more. Okay, I think it could be great. Niki, előtte volt, vagy bocsáss meg, hogy így azonnal becéztelek. Szóval 5-től volt a magyar, szerintem már lassan vissza is fogod tudni nézni. Holnap pedig a színezéssel folytatjuk, ugyancsak 5-től lesz holnap a magyar színezés. So the first was the A component, because it's a bit heavier, and I think it's better if it's the first component. And the second is the B. So I would like to measure 20 milliliters again. Okay, so this is really easy to measuring, and I think it's proper good. So what is also really important in this measurement is to use completely clean cups, because if there is something already in it, it can affect the volume and leads to wrong measurements. Measuring with scale, I personally like this one a bit better, because with this you could see the width of every drop. You cannot be so inaccurate such as the previous measurement, but it's also true that is much more complicated because of the counting and working with extra scale. Extra scale. However, when you work with higher quantity such as 100, 200, or oh, sorry, my phone is getting called somebody. I don't know. I don't know how what happened. Sorry. So, oh no, it's calling. Sorry, my phone is so I wanted to call somebody. So, okay, I'm here. I think I stopped my presentation. That, however, when you work with a higher quantity such as 100, 200, 300 grams, which you need for like a tray like this, you can easily do it your simple kitchen scale. But if you would like to make jewelries or something like that, you need a special scale which is very sensitive, and you can scale very little very little quantity. So the only thing I would like to speak about more the measurements with scale. The ratio is not the same in when you measure in volume. So I think it's a really important thing. And there are people who are more insecure and like to measure the two components in two different cups and pour it together after. I personally do not prefer this solution because you can never scratch out every drop from the cup, so you won't be more precise with this method. But if this one-off is more sympathetic for you, then always care to scratch out every drop of resin from the cups, and it will be good as well. Okay, I'm just checked the comments. So we measured precisely the two components. It's already a success, but it's also very important to mix them perfectly, because if the material is not completely solid, they are also lead to problems during the curing process. You don't need any magic spells or to check if you do it right to left or left to right, but be cautious that we are not making whipped cream. Try to make as little bubbles as you can when you mix. So it is advised to do it with slow and moderate mixing. I think it's so important. You have to also watch for the material on the wall and at the bottom of the cup. And you also have to take the material from the mixing stick to be able to mix components perfectly. When we start to mix the two components, so when we start to mix the two components, you will notice the resin will turn unclear and with a sort of string-like effects. It is completely mixed when you do not see any of these strings, and the mix will be transparent as well again. If you do not see or you cannot check these strings, check the time to mix. It's 3 to 5 minutes, and do not forget to mix the material also from the wall and the bottom of the cup. I always have a music, a favorite song or something like that, which is my mixing music. And I start the song, I start mixing, I sing, sometimes I dance, and I know perfectly the mixing time is enough when the song is over or the song is ended. I need mix it more a little bit. You could see bubbles. There will be bubbles. Any cases, don't worry about it. This is the natural result of mixing, but the quantity matters. So again, I would like to say, do it slowly and cautiously. It's not a whipped cream. We don't have to be fast. Hi everyone. I'm so glad you are here. Have you tried resin art before? Is there any who makes some resin art? Or this will be the first time after that? So, okay, I think the mixing will be good. I mixed enough time and I don't see any strings. I have an extra tip. Many times it happened to me that I did my best, but still there was unmixed material left on the bottom or on the wall. Therefore, I mixed another cup and scratched everything out. So I don't have, this will be my other cup. And I pour the mix to the other cup. And I try to scratch out everything. So the material from the critical spaces, the bottom and the wall, will get into the middle of the mixing in the new cup, and I will mix a little again. Mix it one more time, and this step will the guarantee that the last drop of the resin which we made on the picture does not make mistake that I have to correct, for example 4 days or something like that. Okay, and after you can clean it and it's good for a new project. Okay, so I mix a little again, and it can be cool. Okay. Well, we have to talk about a little bit in the chemical reaction. I don't want to dive into complex chemical process, but it is important. But it is so. But it is important to analyze on a basic level how the resin works. When we measure the needed proportion, mix it perfectly, a chemical reaction starts when heat is produced, and that heat is the reason why the resin cures. Let's see this chemical reaction in practice. Imagine that we mix, yeah, I think this is the same quantity. No, it will be, yes. So there is two same amount of resin, these 2 cups, and I leave one in the cup, and the other I will pour into this silicone mold, for example. So there will be a resin layer in 2-3 millimeters. When I ask the people on my workshops what do they think, which one will cure faster, most of the time they say the thinner will cure faster. I think because of the baking, so they think it works like baking or something like that. But is it not true? Because at that process there is an external heater such as the oven, which is helped to bake, but with the resin it works the other way around, because resin itself generates the heat. You can imagine it is a cup of hot tea. So this is who generate the heat. That's why we leave on the cup. It will be faster, and which is thinner, it will be slower. And this thing, it's really important for us in many reasons. One is the curing of the resin is highly effective by the environment temperature we are working at. The ideal temperature is 20-25 degrees. Sorry, I don't know what happened with my phone. It's called again, somebody. Okay. Excuse me, it live another live. So the curing of the resin is highly effective by the environment temperature. The ideal temperature is 20-25 degrees Celsius. So for example, if you're working in a garage without heating in winter, you measure a resin like this, and you would like to make some little jewelry. The resin will not be able to reach the temperature which is needed for curing. So it will simply not cure. It rests like a liquid or something like that. And if you are working on a terrace on a hot summer day, then the resin will have much more heat than in an overage room, so it will cure faster, or sometimes it happens something like that. It's because of the more heat. So the temperature, the environment temperature, is really important. Try to figure out how much resin will we need. It's not a problem if we take less and mix some more after if it's not enough, because after the reaction is started, we will not be able to reverse it or stop it, and does not matter if we can use it or not, the resin will cure, and it never won't be again some liquid like some that it's cured and it's getting hard. The other thing why I wanted to know how the resin works, to see that it matter how much quantity you mix and how much is in your cup. Let's say there are resin experts between you or brave creators who would like to make a bigger project and start with a tray like this, and for this you need a 200-300 grams of resin, but it is not useful to keep in one cup because it will cure very fast. In a situation like this, we mix the whole amount together and we pour it more cups if it doesn't matter, we want to color it or not. It will be the best way to do it. I usually use only around 100 gram or 100 millimeters in one cup. So you can see, as I have already said, you cannot take the data sheet as a Bible because the temperature, the humidifying and the size of the object will influence the curing time. But normally you should calculate with a 45 minutes, around the 1 hour. So you mix the two components and you have around 45 minutes, 1 hour for free creation. After this consistency, the resin thickens and it takes a jelly state. It's like that, and you can see it's like a jelly. It's a bit harder jelly. Maybe this is better. No, it's harder. Yes. Most of the chemical reaction take part in this period. The best is to leave the resin in this time. Let's leave it to work. We did our part. After around 24 hours, we will be able to make cured resin, a cured object from the silicone mold, but depending on thickness, some can be still flexible. So you should still leave it to rest if you don't want to twist. Quick recap: the thin cures slower, the thick cures faster. So the thinner object will be flexible for a long time than a thick. Okay. While the resin cures, it shrinks a bit. So if it's completely horizontal, when we pour it after curing, we will see a little difference. It can easily solve by doming the resin a little bit, but still some flesh can stay there. If you feel sharp edges on the cured resin objects, you can fix it with a little sanding. It is important, but I think it's a totally different topic, and we will have another live stream about this. But I would like to show this. You can see in maybe no. How can you see the light? I can, yes, maybe this. You can see the sharp edges. Yes, and this is the thing I talk about, or this one. I try to pour it like doming, and that makes some edges and some flesh here. I have to sand it because it's not so comfortable to wear this jewelry. So I would like to talk about the layering at the basics. Layer puri can be useful for many reasons. You know, it's also a layered stuffs and these rings as well. One is for decorational reason. The other is when the size of the material requires these technological twists. What you really need to know about layering is timing. If we pour too soon or too late the second layer to the first, it can cause some problems. Let's see the details. The resin works a bit like water. You can see it's a bit like water, so the light things float on the surface and the heavy things sink. If you would like to put something in the resin, you have to figure out if it's light or heavy. For example, dried flour or metal flakes are light, so they are float on the surface, but a pebble or a shell is heavy, so they sink. In this case, you have to make the object in more layers. If you want to put something light, like this one, you put in the first layer, and when it cured, you poured the other layer. And the first layer was a transparent with the metal fillers, and after I poured the black one on the white colored resin. And for heavy thing, you do the other way around. First you pour the base, and when it cured, you put the thing on the second layer, and because they are heavy, the second layer will be the best way, and the heavy thing gonna be in the middle. The other important fact is the timing of the second layer. The ideal timing is when the first layer is solid but not completely cured. This is the time when your fingerprint can be seen on the surface. But in any case, we have to pour the second layer in 24 hours, because if not, it will not cure together completely. I think maybe the easiest way to try resin art and to pour resin is using silicone molds. And Pentart has a lot of proper cool silicone molds for jewelry and other objects, like a really big heart, and they have a proper good wing as well, but I don't have it now. We have to notice that the surface of the final resin object will be the same as the surface of the silicone mold, so we have to be careful during the working and the cleaning if we scratch or hurt the surface of the silicone mold. This scratch will be on every object. For example, you want to put some metal flakes like this, and you use a little toothpick or something like that to move and to fixing the metal flakes, and you scratch the silicone surface. the silicone furnace, all of the resin objects will be the same scratching after. So we have to be really careful during the work and the cleaning. Cleaning is the best, for cleaning is the best with warm water, with a little soap. There are soda dirts, then rubber alcohol. This could be a great help. You should use with a paper towel and just spray a little. And just clean it. And I also love a great trick, for example, glitters or metal pigments, is the tape, because this is really won't hurt the surface. So, for example, there are glitters. The best way to remove them, it's something like that, because it won't hurt. It really won't hurt the surface. If you do this one, as I think you will hurt the silicone. So it is useful to clean the tools before the resin cure on them, because after it is not so good. I try to, I will use a new gloves. So it's a bit a simple way to use the measure cup or the mixing stick. Well, like we used, I think it was, no, yes, so it's an older one and they are cured and it's really hard to clean it. I hate them, but it's a fresh one. You just clean with a paper towel a little bit, and after using a little rubbing alcohol, and it will be proper good for us. Okay. So let's use a little rubbing alcohol and the new towel. Okay, it's clean and it's ready for a new measuring. I would like to speak about or talk about a little bit the most common enemy of resin. This is the bubbles, or these are the bubbles. But to be honest, sometimes I really like them, but there are cases when they are really annoying. So we really need to see what are the easiest way to eliminate them. Okay. The easiest option and strongly advised is to leave resin mix to rest a few minutes if we don't want to color it, because if we want to color it, do the resting after the coloring. Mixing the coloring will make bubbles again, so there is no reason for the resting before that, just after the coloring. You could see this mixing, and there are less bubbles after a few minutes resting. So so yes, this is strongly advised. But there are other tools to eliminate bubbles on the surface. Each of them is good for different reasons. So it would be useful to buy different tools sometimes. One of them is a blowtorch, which can be, I think you know, the Hungarian name is very funny. It's like pocket dragon. I don't know, have it any nickname in English or other country. So you have to be cautious because it is an open flame with a lot of concentrated heat on the point. So you cannot use it for a long time on a surface because it can hurt the resin, it can burn the resin. Above that open flame cannot be used with flammable material such as a dried flower. It would burn the flowers also. So we have to find another solution when we use, when we pour dried flowers like that one. A heat gun or a hair dryer is also a perfect tool to eliminate bubbles. This is a smaller heat gun. You can use a bigger one, which is like more professional. And if you create bigger resin art, some kind of pictures or even this tray, we use a bigger heat gun because it's more resin. So with the hair dryer, you have to be careful to use one where you can change the change the strength. I hope you can. I hope you can understand. So you can change the volume of the air, because with a strong blow you can blow away the resin. And because of this airflow, this is also not a universal tool, because when we have a final composition, for example, in this tray, you have a final composition, you like it, and you will not be able to eliminate bubbles with heat gun, because we don't want to change the surface. So in this case, it's a completely perfect way to use blowtorch, because it's good for them. And the third option is the rubbing alcohol, the same which one we used for cleaning. It can perfectly eliminate surface bubbles. However, on pour art workshops, I teach that this material is also good for making effects, because it moves the color a bit and they fuse together, they can blend a little bit in an artistic way, like aquarelle or something like that. So it is also not perfect in this case when we have a picture which we like that way and we don't want to change it. So in this case, the only way we can use the blowtorch, because the alcohol spray will change the picture. But rubbing alcohol spray we're good. For example, drying flowers, pouring or something, monochrome, because it won't hurt the flower, and when you pour monochrome stuffs, the colors won't be fusing. These tips, these tricks are useful when the bubbles are on the surface, but sometimes bubbles get trapped on the bottom or on the silicone mold or on the edges on the silicone mold, and we have to help them to get into the resin gently because they really trapped. And if we get into the resin, they can swim up the surface, and we can use the other eliminate bubbling technique. Sometimes it's hard to see the bubbles, so a LED lamp maybe on your phone can be pretty useful to catch them. A thicker object is worth puring. A thicker object is worth puring several layers in one mixing, of course. Pour a little, use some heat gun, pour a little again, and use heat gun again, and so on to help having a clearer result. But the most cautious unbubbling is worth nothing if we put in the bubbles with our moves, such as putting dried flowers in the wrong way. In this case, care for the directions. I always don't do it completely vertical. I always use a way a bit like this, and the bubbles can get away. I'm just check my list, and I think today was a very intense lecture, and I hope I did not frighten you with this many information. I am sure there are many things which you have to process, and the practice will help you to be perfect. Maybe have you got any questions or something like that? Do you understand the process and how it works? Tomorrow we will continue more vivid and easier topic, which is coloring and different magic fillers. I think it could be a really great topic. I think you are tired a bit. I'm so tired, and I was so nervous because this is my first English, and thank you. And I really, really thank you very much for joining me today, and hope see you tomorrow. So thank you again. Thank you very much for joining me today, and hope to see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful night. A dream with resins. So, hello.